It is August 14th, which means it is time once again for RPGaDay 2018. We are almost to the halfway point. For anyone not in the know, RPGaDay 2018 is every day for the month of August. There is a new topic, as seen by the image behind me. And folks from across the RPG hobby submit their answers to those topics on whatever social media, YouTube videos, blog posts, Twitter, tweets, whatever it takes. They include the hashtag RPGaDay2018, and it's to promote positivity about the RPG hobby and the associated community. So you can find a link to the site and to this image in the video description below and start submitting your own answers. Today's topic is to describe a failure that became amazing. And before I get into the specifics of my answer, I want to note that a failure that became amazing is a really common occurrence in the Fantasy Flight Star Wars RPGs, Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny. It's one of my absolute favorite mechanics about those systems because the way that the dice work, there are ways that you can succeed at a task but still have negative story impact, and ways that you can fail at a task but still have positive advantages that come about, or even roll what's called a triumph and have like a major positive story influence even though you technically failed at what you were trying to attempt. You can shoot at a bad guy, miss the roll because you did not get enough successes on your roll. However, you get a bunch of advantages or maybe even a triumph, and you shoot the explosive barrels behind them and that goes off, or the shot hits the wall, and instead of looking at you where you fired the shot from, all of the stormtroopers turn to look at the noise of the bolt hitting the wall, and so you provide a boost to the next person who's attacking them because they're distracted and confused. Or there's numerous ways that you can spin it, and it's really interesting to see what the DM and what the players can come up with the not just single pass fail metric. Having the two axes on the dice really makes for some great successes at a cost or failures that turn into amazing. For the actual answer for today's topic, I'm trying to think real hard of an example that doesn't spoil anything, because my first 3 or 4 answers that come to mind are things that happened in pre-written modules, specifically in starter sets. So I don't want to spoil a starter set for anyone that's thinking about getting into a particular RPG system or into the hobby overall. But stripping all the story elements out of it, my first choice would probably be a time where, while attempting to get onto a ship and past the guards that were guarding the ship, the PCs technically failed a roll, but there was enough positive dice rolled that they used that to their advantage to distract the guards, bum rush, and get on the ship. But they ended up circumnavigating what the adventure kind of planned for, which was an altercation with the guards outside the ship and the captain coming to see what was going on. Well, because they failed and resulted in distracting the guards and bum rushing onto the ship, what ended up happening was the pilot ran to jump in the cockpit so they could take off super fast, but the captain of the ship was already in the cockpit. So instead of having just a shootout on the ground or an argument on the ground, what ended up happening was they were stealing a ship with the captain of the ship on the ship already. The player pilot ended up holding the guy hostage while a co-pilot got into the seat to get the ship up and going. And then there ended up being a brawl between a Trandoshan and a Wookiee in the hallway of the ship while the pilot was still trying to get off world and TIE fighters were chasing them. And to make a long story short, Wookiee threw a Trandoshan out an airlock in low orbit because the other folks were still dealing with the squad of TIE fighters chasing them. But because they fought this ship captain on his own ship instead of in the hangar bay with his droids, it made for a much crazier thing than it should have been. It should have just been, oh, you failed talking to the droids, they don't let you pass. Oh, you failed talking to the droids, they radio back to the boss, and the boss comes out. A conversation ensues, and then a fight happens. But the failure was able to be spun in such a way that allowed the party to kind of get past that situation and create a more unique situation with new challenges. How do we get the ship off the ground when an armed captain is sitting in the cockpit? And then once we've removed him from the cockpit, what do we do about the guy who's clearly not excited about the fact that we're stealing his ship while he's on it? And yes, we got up and out of the hangar, but there's TIE fighters chasing us now, so there is a fight happening outside the ship, and the pilot is running from TIE fighters, and somebody's had to jump into one of the guns and fight off TIE fighters, while the Wookiee who's dragging the captain out of the cockpit and towards the prison cells in the ship ends up getting in a fist fight in the hallway and flings him out the airlock. So it was a really, like, I'm glad that I've got better about being a more flexible DM, because the amount of ways that any given situation can go in the Star Wars games is just absolutely outstanding. I really love the way that those systems can handle situations like that, and I really love the way that it keeps players trying to come up with ways that things should benefit them. Oh, I failed at the task, but I rolled a bunch of advantage. I want this to happen. And it's more fun to me than I rolled a 10 and the DC was 12, so I guess I fail. Whose turn's next? So that's my answer for day 14. Look forward to tomorrow, where we will be halfway through RPG a month, or RPGaDay 2018. You guys have fun.